now we're going to look more into what he has said through the review of what's making the headlines as well in the papers this morning with Arise analyst Dr. Constance Ikwoku. Good morning, Dr. Constance.
Good morning, Yolanda. Well, what shall I say this morning? Is it happy 65th anniversary to you, to Benga, to
yes.
Bimbai? You know, although both of you are not from here, but you're Nigerians now. You're here with us, so you know.
Absolutely.
Happy 65th independence anniversary.
I am fully Nigerian. I have contributed 2 people to the voting population of this country through my children. So.
Welcome.
Interestingly, you're both on green.
You are Nigerian indeed.
And it seems like we are the patriots because we are in green here, Mumbai. So good thinking.
Oh my goodness.
I see you.
That's a shade, Yolanda. I take that. I take
Not
that.
at all, Dr. Constance.
I'll let it slide. But patriotism is the thing of the heart.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right. I mean, we're going to have a very shortened version of paper review this morning. Hello, viewers, and welcome to the program. Let's just do it differently. We'll run through all the papers, and then we'll see what we can take and what we can discuss. So let's pull up our Daily Independent this morning. There it says, Nigeria at 65, where we've turned the corner, the worst is over, Tinubu assures, and Atiku hails Nigerians' courage, blasts federal government over hardship. Then there's the Punch newspaper. There, Nigeria at 65, the worst is over, hope rising for Nigeria, according to the president. And to the Guardian newspaper, Nigeria at 65, Tinubu hails reforms, excuse me, says worst is over, urges unity and optimism. Leadership newspaper this morning, Tinubu were now selling more to the world than buying. This, of course, is the continuation of that speech. Vanguard newspaper, while the 65th anniversary celebration dominates the front page, we're going to take an inside story here which says 2027 Jonathan Oshibanjo Kwankwanso Obi to join civil society in demand for electoral reforms. There was also another story from Daily Independent which said bloodlet in northern Nigeria operating under a course, according to Dogara, who is the former Speaker of the House of Representatives. Then to Daily Sun newspaper, Tinubu, Wike, First Lady, governors, ministers, NUJ, others mourn. Arise News anchor demand swift justice. And then, of course, the story on Pengosin and Dangote refinery. We know that the papers went to bed early last night, so they're still reporting that there were no resolution to the matter, but we can confirm this morning that Pengosin is to call off the strike following the fact that a deal has been reached between the two parties. The 800 staff workers are to be recalled and deployed to other arms of the company. So back to the president's speech. He said quite a number of things. The meat of the matter, for instance, is a deep reflection about, you know, where we are as opposed to what is supposed to be. He talks, of course, of a manifest destiny of Nigeria to leave the black race. What a huge responsibility. I don't know how we fared. We can talk about that. He did acknowledge the ups and downs, progress and failures. Spoke about increase in educational institutions, achievements in telecoms, aviation. He mentioned the civil war. Well, is the civil war still, is it really over? He said, we've weathered these storms and we are here now. Again, he blamed previous governments for handing him over a collapse or near collapse economy. And of course, one of those former presidents is someone he fully supported, President Muhammad Buhari, who is now late, and who he made sure that he got a second term. He talked about government at all levels having more money. The question is that translating to improved quality of life and to prudence? He said he will continue to work for us, the citizens. Do we believe that? Is he really working for us, or are they working for politicians themselves? He talked about monies raised, the high external reserves, taxation, and security. He didn't mention or claim that peace has returned to troubled communities. That's debatable. Then to young people, he said, you are the future. The government will give you wings to fly. yet most spheres of political life and decision making is still dominated by septuagenarians and up. So that's something to look at. The federal government will continue to do its best, and he concluded by saying that the dawn of a new prosperous Nigeria is here. Vimbai, what do you make of this briefly?
I mean, certainly there were so many things to take away because the president touched on almost every area of our livelihoods, every area of the nation. I think for me, maybe the number one theme that stuck out, was the fact that he said, well, the reforms he has embarked on were a choice that he felt would be lighter and a better route for the nation than what he described as imminent economic chaos and bankruptcy. So he's saying that, well, when I came into office, I had the choice to leave things as they are, and the economy would spiral into chaos and the nation would become bankrupt. Or I had the choice to embark on the reforms that I've embarked on, which are painful, but in his estimation, less painful from the alternative. Well, that is something that can be debated. Of course, we know that's something that's hotly debated on a regular basis. However, I think the tone of the message itself was the similar tone we've come to know the president to share when he's delivering these messages, which is that he's consistently reinforcing what he feels are his successes and his wins, and continuously reaffirming that he feels that his choices were the best and the right choices for this nation. He went through some of the economic indices and so forth, looked at GDP growth, trade surplus. On trade surplus, I think it was important to note that trade surplus actually started in 2022. It didn't start under this particular administration, but nevertheless, they've been able to sustain it and increase it. Exchange rate stability, many people will say, well, it's at a painful level for both businesses and individuals. Subsidy savings, this one was an important one to me, because he's saying, well, the subsidy savings are now being felt at the grassroots. And this is a conversation for us to have with our subnationals who are enjoying a largesse because they're enjoying an increased FAC. But now the question at hand is, this FAC, the argument is that it's a money illusion, that, inflation has gone up, the currency has devalued. So on paper, it's a largesse, but they're saying that the money is actually less than what they had a few years ago. So all of these issues compounded, I think he summarized it by saying that what we want to be able to attribute to the economic successes, is the food on our table. And this is what every single Nigerian wanted to hear this morning, and every person who lives in Nigeria wanted to hear this morning is, thank you for reeling out your successes, but please, I want to know, how does this translate to the food on my table? And we haven't reached that place yet. We haven't turned that corner yet. So I think, yes, a message of hope is important from a leader, from a president on an occasion like this. But for us to say we've turned the corner, maybe macroeconomically based on statistics, absolutely, maybe the trajectory is looking positive from that level. But the average person is still saying that this is a difficult Independence Day and may reflect back to past Independence Days when they were able to buy chicken and make rice for their family. I mean, how much is chicken and rice now? It will save it for Christmas. Most people don't have it for Independence Day.
Yeah, okay. So, Benga, I'd like you to come in. If we go back to that Daily Independent newspaper, there's that bit where Atiku talked about the courage of Nigerians and praised them. And what I would like us to discuss here is that often and all the time, people say that Nigerians are resilient, which is a good quality or a virtue to have. However, in this circumstance, does it seem that Nigerians deserve the successive governments they've had because they simply take whatever is dished out to them? It seems that there's a level of docility and not enough questions, so the so-called leaders get away with impunity, and that's why we're where we are today.
First and foremost, it seems we, as a country, we have a way of celebrating the glorious past, in the sense that there is a kind of increased appetite about what was in the past to what is current. We have a way of complaining bitterly about the current situation until we get another deal and we face another disenchanting reality. Looking at the president's speech, a very comprehensive one, even though some salient points were missing. He talked about the dreams of the founding fathers to lead the black race and to be the beacon of Africa to the world. And I wonder how much realistic, when we look at the current situation now and the advancements that the world has recorded. I remember in 1962, Nigeria, Brazil, and Indonesia were rated to be those powerhouse in terms of becoming industrial giants that would really turn the page that the president is talking now. He also, and there is also a very fundamental need to put many of these developmental statistics in its right context. He talked about having 120 secondary schools and 2 universities in at the time of independence. I think that is not entirely contextually right, because when you look at what was Nigeria's population in 1960 and what is Nigeria's population now. So when you look at many of those, then when we also look at this, the economic indices that he had also banded, how does this align with the economic realities? He talked about the GDP 42.6%, the best in about 6 years, and the trade surplus and the decline in inflation. But how does this elevate the economic indices? And the most important thing now is that the cost of living is one thing, and the cost of governance. He should be able to tell us what it is, and most importantly, what is the state of the Nigeria's refinery? I'll leave it there.
Unfortunately, we'll have to wrap it up, but Yolanda, I'd definitely like to bring you here on the international papers to just say a word. We had the Times newspaper, you know, with the British Prime Minister fighting for the soul of the Labour Party, alleging that Farage does not believe in Britain. We move on to the Daily Express, where conservative Kemi Badenoch is confident, saying, I can clean up the almighty mess as the next PM. And of course, we have in America, where it's being reported that the US government has shut down. And then Financial Times, in America, President Trump continues the verbal offensive here. Trump and Hexet tell fat generals to use invaded cities as training grounds. Wow. You can come in, Yolanda, over to you.
A lot to dissect there, Dr. Constance, but I think I would like to touch on the most top story of the moment, which is definitely about, you know, the U.S. government shutdown that happened at midnight. I think for some time now we've been anticipating this shutdown. We had a similar shutdown as well in the U.S. in 2018, still with President Donald Trump. This was over the time that Trump was having these border wall funding issues, and so the government shut down for the longest shutdown that was ever recorded, which is about 35 days. So let's hope that this one will not last that long. We have, you know, people's jobs being affected. People are being put in furlough, where it's kind of, they're not working, but they are not being paid, but they can be brought back at any time. So we're just hoping that Congress is able to reach a deal that will be favorable for everybody. Definitely, a government shutdown in the U.S. is not just an arbitrary decision that is taken. It is something that is planned and expected. So I'm hoping that with all of these things currently going on in the Trump administration, that Congress will be able to come to a deal that favors especially the everyday person.
Yeah, I'd like us to talk more about the Labour Party in the UK. We had that in the Times newspaper, but
Dr. Constance, I think our time is up, because we have our guest on standby, Bishop Matthew Cooker, who is going to comment on the President's address this morning. Well, unfortunately, our time is fast spent. So for more, thank you so much, Dr. Constance Ikoku.